Behind the Shades.
So my name is Tiffany Estremera. I am a wife, a mother, and a success coach for women. Like I had said before, I work with women who are, have been diagnosed with a mental illness and are looking to move forward in their life. Their current form of healing is no longer working for them. So I own a business called Bold Success Project. So you can find me there, boldsuccessproject.com. Under Facebook, you can find me under Tiffany Estremera. On Instagram, you can find me at Mindset Queen.
Perfect. So take us through the beginning of how this all started, the genesis, as I like to call it, and how did you get involved in this?
Well, I got involved in it because exactly what I'm describing was my past. As soon as I hit adult life, I saw myself continuing the behaviors that I had grown up with around me, things I had seen like my family doing. I had taken the same behaviors. I had a son at the age of 23, and I was like, no way am I going to continue passing this along. So at that point, I started to work on myself and I went to go see a psychiatrist. I was dealing with anxiety. I was dealing with like anger that was coming from it. And little did I know that I was dealing with postpartum depression at that time. So fast forward 10 years later, and here I am, 2 kids in. I've been an entrepreneur the entire time, but what has really been hardest for me was working with my emotions and being able to find medication that truly helped me, really finding the best path that grew with me because I had these big ambitions. I had a business that, was working out for me, but it stayed the same the entire time because I couldn't handle more. So I was like, what am I doing wrong? Where can I find treatment that can grow with me? So from there, I actually we got COVID really bad, and this was like I think it was like the breaking point for me. My daughter had the worst fever; it was like 106, and we knew we couldn't take her to a hospital. And I had been in bed for I think at this point like 4 days. We all got it pretty bad, and I just remember like screaming out and just being like, "God, this can't be it. This can't be life." I just felt like I was at a really low point, and from there, I said, please just help me change my life. And I think about a month later, I finally Googled the word mindset. So that's how low I was. I didn't even know that my mindset was my concern. And that's what I started working on shortly after. I invested in a really expensive course. It was $10,000 at that time. I had no idea how I was going to be able to afford it. Or I knew it was going, I was like, God, if this is for me, send the money and I will take it. I will do it. And the money came right before I needed it. So I signed up and I took a course. And about a year later, I was like just in awe of the things that had changed in my life, the amount of healing that I had done, the transformation that had happened. And I realized I was like, this is the path to getting off of your antidepressants. I was taking them for probably at that point, I would say 10 years consistently. And I was at a point where for 5 years where I was just stuck, no growth, no intuition, unable to hear myself. So that's what led me to here.
I know for me, when I was going through some major changes, I was trying to figure it out. And one of my biggest fears was to be medicated, meaning that I was so afraid of taking pharmaceutical drugs because you hear all these horror stories, right? People get addicted, people change, there's all these side effects. And I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, I need to truly understand what the hell that I'm going through, because that's a step I think a lot of people miss, right? They realize that something isn't right and they're like, okay, I'm just going to take drugs. Right? Versus you had more of, okay, I'm going through this. I need to figure it out. When was the moment in your life where you're like, aha, Tiffany, this is a path that you have to go down. it's starting to make sense now. Let me continue to do this because I know I'm going to create a better version of myself.
That's a really good question. I think for me, when I started to see my mindset shift, so even when I first signed up for that course, I really just wanted to use it to make money. Even when I, started working on thoughts turn into things and really focusing on my thoughts, focusing on shifting my perspective, I still just wanted to make money. It wasn't until I actually gained a view of worth within myself, which didn't happen initially. I began working on my mindset. I began changing my perspective until I saw that I was worth the things I wanted to create. That I was, I think I had forgotten that I was a good person. So I would say it was about 6 months into that journey. 6 months after that night where my daughter had 106 fever and I cried out, and I wasn't a religious person at that time. And my husband was like, you know, who are you talking to? Like it definitely frightened him. But I would say around then, about 6 months after I really just saw like a lot of worth in myself. I saw myself excelling again. I saw myself feeling like that girl that I once was. So it definitely, especially in women, this is why I help women, because I don't feel like I could explain it or I could teach it to a man, because it's just almost a different process. But for me, myself and the women that I work with, I really see what a difference self-belief makes. And it's the same for everyone, of course. But the truth is, something happens, like it's just more valuable within a woman.
She's like, Lord, give me strength. And her husband's like, who the hell are you talking to right now? When your daughter was sick and you're doing things that was not accustomed, right? Like you're reaching out and you're saying you're not a religious person, but you called for the God, for the Lord to give you strength at that point. How were your emotions during that time when your daughter was sick? You're trying to figure it out, and you're like, is this going to go left or is it going to be right?
I think it was the clearest my mind had ever been, because I don't know if you remember, but I did mention that I had been in bed for many days. And throughout that time, I wasn't able to take the 4 antidepressants that I was taking on a regular basis. So I had actually been like a whole week of not taking any of the medicines that I had been taking, some for years. So I think at that time was when I really realized, what is going on? What am I doing? It was almost like I started to feel like myself again. I've always been a go-getter, a person who was aware of the things that she wanted. But during the time when I was medicated, and it's not, this wasn't, doesn't exactly have to do with the medication. It had to do with the lack mindset that I had. I was really just focused on everything I didn't want, everything that was going wrong in my life. So to be able to, you know, have this monumental moment in my life that was dark, but have a monumental moment, and to have it bring like clarity. And I also gained a lot of energy not being medicated. So it was a life-changing moment, to say the least.
And when you look back, seeing how far you've come, and now you're helping women on that same journey, do you see a little bit of yourself in every woman that you assist today?
Yes, of course. I can see myself in these women because I don't forget what it feels like. And I don't want to, because that just makes this moment where I'm grateful, even if it's just like hanging out with my kids, or even, just here talking with you, it's just completely different. So I don't want to forget those moments. And I see them within every single person that I speak with, even if they don't hire my services. That's just how the universe works. That's just how God brings other people into your lives. We all share a similar vibration. We all have big hearts. We all love helping people. We all are really hard on ourselves at times. We all forgive others more than we forgive ourselves. I can see it within every single person that they're meant to be good. And at times they have felt that they haven't been good. So I love having deep conversations. I love talking about how we can be better and do better. We don't necessarily do that whole, oh, this is going awful, that is going awful. Everything that we work on and all of the stuff that we talk about is solution based, creating new habits, moving forward. So it's amazing once a client of mine is able to change her perspective and begins bringing that solution to you, starts thinking of the solution first, points out everything that she loves first. So as the process goes on, not that they don't become more like me, they become more like them, like, themselves before all this stuff happened, before everything that changed them happened. So.
And when you're working with these women to find themselves this way and to improve and to grow themselves this way, what are some of the commonalities that you find that is holding them back from achieving this type of success?
I think as a society, we're told that these are the cards you're dealt with and we deal with them. We think that having a home foundation that we love and having a job that we're passionate about isn't common anymore. We sit and we watch the news and we hear devastation after devastation and we focus on those things. And I think that that's what holds a lot of women back. Also, we don't know how to quiet our minds. We think that this is just how the world works. We don't know how to find that, that confidence within us. We think, that's childlike, using our imagination, like that doesn't happen. We all sat in class, we were told, like, pay attention, look over here, don't let your mind wander, things like that. So I think that they just think that that's how life is supposed to be. Hard. Life is not meant to be hard. And it's actually really simple for it to become something that you love. And a lot of times we're told to like dig our emotions deep, don't be so emotional. I actually have an email going out about that right now. And it's, don't be so emotional. Don't let your emotions overtake you. And the truth is, when you focus all that passion into the right thing, you can actually create something beautiful. And you will, as long as you can remain focused on the positive things and the things, not just the positive, because the negative is there. You can't be oblivious to reality. But the truth is, when you focus on what you want and you look away from what you don't want, even though it's there, but you focus on what you do want, it comes. And the solutions how to get there come up. The path to get there comes up. So that's one of the things we do. We make want lists. We literally go shopping for emotions and support and attracting people that we love and support us. My husband doesn't know this, but I've changed our relationship just by simply focusing on the things that I love about him, the things that he does well. And it's made both of us better parents. It's made both of us have the things that we want more in life.
So Tiffany, tell me more about this want list and how we create it and how it's applicable to our lives.
Okay, so I would absolutely start with, and this is just as simple as grabbing a piece of paper. And maybe you have to start with the things that you don't want. I actually think this is a great way to go about it. So write down, what are some of the things that you don't want? Focus on your personal life, your professional life, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your coworkers. Go all out, go crazy. List everything down. Think about things that you want emotionally. Think about the things that are lacking in your marriage, lacking in your relationships, or lack of, whatever it may be, and change them from the thing you're missing to the thing you have. Write them down. So if you're looking for more support from your significant other, if you're looking for more communication from your children, you write it as more communication, not, they shut you out. So you're writing it literally as what you're shopping for So you're just making a want list. What are the things that you want? And it's as simple as that. I actually do it all the time with my team in terms of like our social media. I try to do this every month. What are some things that we want to do? What are different types of engagement that we'd like to see in terms of, people commenting on each other's posts, people opening up a little bit more. We're talking about a lot of emotional, deep things. And when we started, people didn't want to talk about these things. People didn't want to open up. People weren't coming to the lives. So we started making wants lists about this stuff. And it's even more powerful when you do it with others. Co-creation, it's like manifestation times 2. Add in another person, manifestation times to the power of 3. Like it strengthens. So
It's
I love
like,
everything.
I was gonna say, it's like you're building your tribe, right? Where you start off by yourself, let's say me, and I'm creating what I want. I'm like, okay, Train, this is what you want. This is what you want. And then I'm adding power to it because I have the energy of my friends and they're supporting me. And then we're creating it together. As you mentioned, we're co-creating this list of what we want and how it can be implemented in our lives. When we create that list and now we got to fulfill it, how do we do that?
Well, it's really easy. It's using the law of attraction. So you're not focusing on what you actually want. And when you stay focused on that thing, for example, let's say, like I was just using the social media example, you're working on building that. So then you see a post, someone puts up a poll. Polls do really well in my group. So let's say, when I first got that, maybe my idea came from, oh, someone had this really funny poll on their story, or they were doing a poll wherever. So I came up with a poll idea. Before you know it, a poll idea comes into your head. You jot it down. Maybe every week you start doing a poll. You start coming up with themes for the week. Like things come to you as long as you remain like, I want to do that, so I'm going to. You have to put in the action part as well. And you also have to trust. So part of action is trusting. If I think that, I want to lose weight, I'm going to like start buying healthier food. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to, start dressing better, feeling more confident about myself, whatever it may be. The action comes with it. There's a trust part. And you also just have to release. Trust that it's going to come back to you and not be like, oh, I wish I could lose that weight. I wish my Facebook group had the engagement that I wanted, whatever it may be. It all has to align. So I start thinking, well, it's not here now, but it's going to come, and once I feel like my jeans are a little loose, I'm like, ooh, it's coming, it's here. I'm losing weight, whatever it may be. So there's action involved. There's thoughts are involved. There's ideas, you put action to it. You talk about it. You can also make a list. Let's say you're trying to reach a goal. What does the person who has achieved that goal, what have they done to get there? And this is a nice way to find out, what is it? What do I think that woman has done to achieve that? And then I start doing it. There's going to be some ideas there, some ideas that you can work towards right away, some action steps that you know of that you can take right away. So you start doing it. And maybe as the path goes on, it depends on how far away your goal is, right? But as the path goes on, you think of a new thing that you could accomplish. And before you know it, you're halfway towards that goal. You have a couple more action steps that you can take towards that goal. And you continue to take them. You have faith, and little reminders come along the way.
There was a time in my 20s where I wanted something so bad. I just want to understand how to be a successful man. And like you mentioned, I had to create a list and say, okay, what is it about a man that you believe is successful? I had to identify it, right? So I had to create this version of terrain that I wanted to obtain, but I needed to know every single thing about it. okay, is this version going to have this? Is this version going to have that? They're not going to have this. They're not going to have that. So I essentially created a persona, but it was like a list, as you mentioned, right? But it wasn't enough just to create it. To your point, I had to go out there and there had to be action, there had to be behaviors. And I think one of the most difficult parts outside of maybe creating the list was overcoming any hesitation to fulfill it. Meaning that what am I? Do I have the courage to become this person? Do I have the courage to change, to fulfill this list? Can I understand that there's going to be some dark times, there's going to be some hard times, and there's going to be some times where you're going to just feel overwhelmed? For you personally and the women that you deal with, when you help them create that list and when they're looking at it, do they feel emotions that may make them feel either overwhelmed, or they may look to you and say, Tiffany, I don't know if I can do this. It seems bigger than me.
Of course, that happens to everyone. And I think it's important to identify that idea that I'm not enough, or the idea that I feel overwhelmed, or the confusion that comes. There's a lot of them. Another one that comes up a lot is, I'm nervous about what others are going to say about me. This feeling to want to accommodate others, this feeling of even being nervous that, who do I think I am to do this just because, she can do it, but I can't do it. Those ideas are masked. They're not the truth. Every time those things come up, they distract us. So we're focused. The mask is overwhelmed. But the truth is, deep down, we don't feel like we're enough. So that's when you do the confidence work. That's why we, meditate and do breath work, so that we can level our nervous system and quiet down our brains and know that that's just me feeling like it's not enough. I need to work on my confidence. I need to, do particular things so that I can improve my confidence and be able to take the certain steps that I want. I actually do breath work with anyone who takes any of my paid services multiple times a week, because that is the best way that I have found to level my nervous system, so that and I'm not saying I don't get nervous, but at least I know when it comes up, when I get anxious, I know, like, okay, this is just my body trying to keep me safe, because that's what happens. As someone that was, really outspoken and spoke every thought she ever had, and, a lot of it out of pure ignorance, I'll tell you, a lot of my previous behavior was toxic. So when I would, even now, when I go live, I get nervous. But that's just my body trying to keep me quiet, because I was hurt by others in the past. So in order for us to truly be able to identify, like, what is it that's going on, there are things that you can do. You can do them for free. You can go on YouTube right now and look up some meditations. I think there's like a very few breath works. If you guys want to try breath work, come to my page, join the mailing list. I do free ones all the time. You can regulate your nervous system. We have these things that it seems that we've forgotten over generations of how to heal ourselves, how to ground ourselves. So they're just masks or distractors. I call them both things. It depends on the moment. But the truth is, everyone has them. Everyone, even like really big, important people that we look at as being super successful. I'm sure Beyonce gets nervous before she goes on stage. I'm sure, she has moments where she decides not to do something, and it's one of those distractors that's holding her back. The difference between, it's not about the fear. The difference between those who feel they're not as successful and those that are undeniably successful are that they take those steps regardless of having the fear, because a distractor is always fear-based. It seems like overwhelm, and it has a mask of overwhelm, but the truth is, it's our body freaking out inside.
And you're getting like to the bottom of that because you're telling people that it's okay to feel what you feel, but do you know why you feel it? And I think a lot of times we don't know why we're hesitant to make that change. We don't know why we feel anxious about it. But you're saying that at the root of all of that, it could quite possibly be you're afraid to become that person, because to become that person, there's a lot of work you have to do, and it's new, right? It's scary. It's like you're going through to a new place, a new city, and it's you, but you don't know how you're going to get there. You don't even know if you're going to like yourself at the end of this, but you have to trust the process. So how would you get not only myself, but but everyone, especially the women as you deal with them, how would you get them to trust the process, trust the new version of themselves, and most importantly, believe that they can do it?
I think a lot of it is self-image work. We're like removing all the lies that we believed at one point in time, things that were said, things that happened. I think it's really important that we hear ourselves. What is it that we want? And, almost to get ourselves to hear our own voice, it takes some work to be able to hear yourself. So, self image work, hearing yourself and following your emotions, realizing that they're just meant to be indicators of what you do want and what you don't want. So it's not necessarily in my world, I'm really trying to remove the idea that anything is positive or negative. It's really just, what do I want? What don't I want? And that's your choice. We all want different things. So, yeah, I think that's what it's about. Just hearing what it is that you do want, following your heart, and realizing that your emotions were there for a reason, and going about it in a way that sparks energy within you, that doesn't drain you. I use that fill your cup, before you do anything else analogy multiple times a day. So it's all about filling your cup. Keep
I
it
know
full.
sometimes the lies make us feel so good, right? It's like you wake up in the morning and you can tell yourself you're the best looking person on earth. You're probably not, right? But it feels so good. But the truth could be that instead of you being the best looking person on the earth, or the best thing to women or to men, it could be something that, hey, you're the best person for somebody. You will be the most attractive person for someone. It's like you're changing the words that you use to describe yourself, and you're changing your state of mind and how you view yourself. Would you agree?
Yes, yes. I think perspective is the biggest thing that I work on with people at first. Perspective is really important. I, something as simple as, so I just had a baby. He's one now. And my son, cries a lot. So to go from saying, he cries a lot to he's a good communicator. My son is a great communicator. He's just turned one and he already says, I think it's like 8 words. And I'm really proud of him, for that. And throughout that time, I really had to work on my perspective with him, my idea of having a baby. Again, I haven't, my other youngest is 6 years old, and then I have a 13-year-old. So it was like, ooh, we're starting again, it felt like a lot. But that perspective of he's a great communicator, which he is, but he cries a lot, so being realistic with yourself and also honoring the truth in it. And the truth is he's a good communicator, so perspective is an amazing thing. The same thing I talked a little bit with you in the beginning about how being emotional, a lot of people look at it as, oh, that's a negative thing. If you ask any woman, I'm sure they were told, like, oh, be a nice girl, be a good girl as you were growing up, every time that she went to share an opinion that wasn't, didn't go along with others. So instead of that point in society, part of Bold Success Projects, like the reason why I created it was to show you that when you add passion to things that you want, you can light a fire under it and you can achieve it. And that's the whole point of it. It's not about be a good girl. It's about share your truth, focus on what you want, add that emotion to that. And you can do anything. I'm not saying you can sing like Aretha if you don't have a good voice. I'm not saying you can change this color of the sky, but you can find something that brings passion to you, that brings happiness to you, that brings abundance to you, and whatever your definition of abundance is.
That is well said. And as we close, Tiffany, what's some advice that you'd want to give to women going forward who are trying to figure this all out, but make sure they're still intertwined with who they want to be, as you described today?
I guess I would say that everyone says they want different things, but they don't have the time. And what I would say to that is that your family needs you with your cup full. And for you to become the woman that you want to be, which you can do right now, you need your cup full. So with your cup full, everything goes by faster. When you have a clear mind, when you're full of energy, when you lead with love, everything just goes better and smoother. So do yourself a favor and fill your cup now. Keep your mind clear, eat right, value yourself, set boundaries with every person in your life, but also with yourself. Set boundaries with yourself. That's the most important thing. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I may read a self-development book. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to order a pizza if I want to, like whatever it may be, because I have a boundary with myself that I work hard and I play hard. And in order for me to do that for myself, for my family, for the women that I help, I need to fill my cup first. So I'm going to do that.